Indra. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16. Rishi, Medhatithi Kanva, Devata, Indra, Chandas, Gayatri. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 1.
आत्मा महन्तु हरजो मृषणम् सोमवीतये इन्द्रत्वा सूरचक्षसः.
May steeds verily carry you, Indra, bull, for soma drinking, you, sun-eyed. Finite metaphors and infinite resemblances. Our equidae and bovinae brethren, familiar natural phenomena and objects in their symbolic personifications, a particular member of the kingdom plantae, a few ordinary and conventional tools of everyday use, and the notion of any activity as a sacrifice on the part of the doer are repeatedly used as metaphors throughout the Rigvedic text to the point of fatiguing the mind with sheer monotony. But there is also an inherent beauty and intellectual genius to this manner of expression. It is indeed some inventiveness to be able to compact, group, and bundle an infinite collection of concepts, their articulations as activities with varying aftermaths depending upon the ambience of the environment that nurtures and advances such articulations, and describe them with a finite set of variables, and successfully at that. Its utility and success is the fact that it has survived the vagaries of time over hundreds of human generations, perhaps even thousands, and that alludes to the credible and logically acceptable purpose of life. A preeminent share of this complement certainly belongs to the fractal design of the universe upon which the Rigvedic expressions rest. In a sentence that measures less than a line span of an A4 size canvas in its portrait orientation, this verse describes the essence of a range of activities that maintain equilibrium in the dynamics of the three regions of immediate concern to mortals: the Earth's surface, the Earth's atmosphere, and outer space. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 2.
इमाधानाघृतस्नुभो हरी इहोपवक्षतः इन्द्रम् सुखतमेरसे.
Let pair of steeds oozing clarity carry near here Indra in most well-made vehicle to these grains. from gratefulness to great fullness. Continuing with the thread of thought that inspired the explanation of the previous verse, it is apparent that it would take quite an effort and application of mind, backed by the experience of living an assortment of situations, traversing perceived extremes, and a healthy and substantial contribution from those two illusory unknowns termed time and grace, to be able to bridge the seeming chasm between the wee little line of text packed with metaphors called a verse and the attempted elucidation of almost half a page. Individuals from every generation have ventured to provide one based on their circumstance. As it is customary in duality, some have been brilliant, others average, and some others very pedestrian, but all sincerely done. The quality of their effort is perhaps, but not necessarily, determined by the number of individuals they have been able to inspire to be led into the state of unbounded consciousness and continue to. Coming to this verse, the Indras or regulators, the one within us and the innumerable without, are invoked to grant the clarity of thought assisted by their pair of steeds, light and sound, that they possess, and that they must be subsisting in their minds, in the most well-made vehicle, upon our own thoughts, the rough and unpolished grains. The symbolism of offering coarse grains into the sacrificial fire is to enable Agni to purify them and offer the essence of our thoughts of acknowledgement and gratefulness to our Maker, and to realize that sans ego, which is the primary tool of differentiation, we are that great fullness. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 3.
Indram pratarhavamah Indram prayatyadhare Indram somasya bitaye.
We call Indra at dawn, Indra at endeavoring in uninterrupted sacrifice, Indra for drinking soma. The tango of symbolism with practicality. Continuing further with the thread of thought that inspired the explanation of the two previous verses, the epithet uninterrupted sacrifice is conferred upon such activities that follow each other in a progression. Some among them are vigorous, while some others comparatively laid back. Logically, the vigorous ones would require more energy inputs than their sluggish counterparts. The sun being the primary energy source in the solar system and its bestowals limited to daytime at any specific point on Earth's surface, Indra is called at dawn as the first rays of the sun grace the earth, to become active to accomplish the more vigorous activities or sacrifices for the day, which translates to mean living an active and productive life during the period of the day in focus. Availability of plentiful energy alone doesn't ensure a successful series of activities. It needs the regulator in Indra to use it judiciously, sift through the plethora of inputs from the environment and from our own body parts to process and decide on the sequence in which activities need to be scheduled, and keeping detriments away with the equivalence of the atmospheric thunderbolts appropriate for the theatre of action. However, Indra, though primed to spontaneously respond to situations and conditions, which is dharma, also has to follow the directives of karma in his conferrals. This is the cause of the disparity between the ideal and the real, and the use of the phrase endeavoring for uninterrupted sacrifice in the verse. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 4.
उपनस्तुतमागाहि हरिभीन्द्रकेशिभिः सुते हित्वा हवामहे.
Do verily come to our libation with maned steeds, Indra, for we call you in libation. Physical experience and mental visualization. Acknowledgement of a presence can happen two ways. One, where there is a physical appearance, and the other, when the presence is visualized and the mind plays out the remembrance upon the retina. Since an activity is simultaneously both a mind and physical play with different yet related aftermaths that coalesce to form a larger perspective than what either of the individual ones can, calling of Indra to the sacrifice can be deemed to be more in the nature of a visualized acknowledgement, while the act of and the result of the offering is physically experienced. As the retina of the eye is involved in both, and light is associated with the faculty of vision, at least one of the two main steeds representing light and sound yoked to Indra's chariot is accounted for. Perhaps, if one or more sounds are also associated with the visualization, the auditory mechanism of the body too mimics the sensation of those sounds without any material vibration striking the ear. If this were to be true, then the mention of both steeds of Indra in the verse is legitimate. Of course, Indra is all around anyway, physically, for he pervades every system that he regulates. The onus is entirely on mortal individuals to call for his visualization, and lo and behold, he is there. And with him comes all of his characteristics and abilities that are expressions of the truth to reassure us in our moments of need. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 5.
सेवन्नस्तो ममागह्युपेदम् सवनम् सुतम् गौरो न त्रेषितः पीब.
Verily, do you come near this our hymn to this soma extract, to libation, like thirsty deer? Do drink. Unconscious spontaneity and intended eagerness. All natural forces and principles have this inherent trait of spontaneity. If this trait can be explained as the unconscious and impetuous urge to express an innate potential immediately upon encountering a conducive situation, then its counterpart in the domain of conscious living will be aware and intended eagerness. Contemporary science explains this as nature's propensity by the process of evolution to populate every distinctive environment with life forms adapted to the idiosyncratic surroundings from which it needs to draw sustenance. No niche ever remains exempted from this transformation. The activity of a fire sacrifice alters the composition of the atmosphere in its immediate vicinity, prompting its regulatory mechanism to be instantly activated to methodize the effects of this alteration to make it conform to the larger prevailing structure of the universe and its expressions. The trait of unconscious spontaneity is viewed as the intended eagerness of the personified Indra, like a thirsty deer, to partake of the offered soma extracts and hymnal libations. The spontaneity of the conceptual Indra is depicted as a thirsty real one in a deer form, quenching its thirst and eagerness with the waters of truth in the form of soma libations. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 6.
इमे सोमास इन्द्रवस्तुदासो अधिबर्हिषि ता इन्द्रसहसे विवा.
These are somas, words of wisdom, soma extracts about upon kusha grass. Them, Indra, do drink for confidence. Inclusive ancients and exploitative moderns. The basis of the thoughts to follow is the primary assumption that personification of divinities is a human mind construct, taken recourse to for understanding natural phenomena and their nuances in human terms. From a temporal perspective, it will be quite natural to assume that the personified Indra may have had to confront and overcome many a traumatic occurrence since the commencement of his work from the dawn of time. The human mind is said to resort to an unconscious process of motivated forgetting, termed psychological repression, to exclude such thoughts and memories from the realm of awareness to keep the conscious mind from weariness that would hamper work efficiency. Such repression of remembrances may also have collateral repercussions, its direct consequence being obliviousness to one's own potential abilities that may be revived by extrinsic stimulants. Humans project this psychological phenomenon to their personified divinities and propound narratives about their behavioral patterns, principally to investigate and interpret their characteristics. This approach to truth-seeking is common to both Vedic and contemporary quests. What differs in them is its purpose. While the former is inclusive in its perspective, the latter confers exclusivity upon humans and is exploitative with regard to the rest. Indra may be urged to drink soma and listen to hymnal renditions to stimulate him out of his forgetful stupor. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 7.
अयम् ते स्तोमो अग्र्यो हृदिस्पृगस्तु सन्तामः अर्धा सोमम् सुतम् पीबा.
Let this foremost hymn, touching the heart, be most peace-giving for you. Then do drink libational offering. Gunas and their hormonal connect. Contemporary science declares that the human body has over 50 different hormones that aid the performance of various body functions. Of them, a few are associated with neurofunctions of enhancing or alleviating feelings, moods, and disposition towards living. Examples of such hormones are dopamine, that is associated with feelings of reward, motivation, and productiveness, and cortisol, estrogen, and testosterone that produce mental stress, anxiety, and depression. Vedic thought, on the other hand, categorizes neuroactivity as gunas or tendentious qualities, numbering three, namely tamas, rajas, and sattva. Tamas is a state of listlessness, lethargy, and being unmotivated. Rajas is being overactive and impulsive. Sattva guna bestows equilibrium and order, a healthy and optimal balance between the first two, where there is neither inactivity nor overactivity. This is the state of being associated with divinities and a state that humans strive for. A state that promotes understanding of truth about all that is created and functioning, and whatever that is beyond it. It is also the definition of peace. The epithet Shankara, Shamkara, where Sham translates as peace and Kara means doer. Shankara, the divine, is the peace doer or the order spreader. When activities are devoid of ego, they promote and sustain order, which touches the heart of the personified divinity. This is the likely import of this verse. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 8.
विश्वमित्सवनम् श्रुतमिन्द्रो मदाय गच्छति वृत्रः सोमबीतये.
Assuredly, to all Soma libations goes Indra, to the Soma extracts for intoxication, the destroyer of Vritra for Soma drinking. Perceived psychological repression and its deliberated resolution. Soma libations being the exemplary motive of all activities across the universe, the presence of Indra is assuredly obligatory as a witness to and a regulator and processor of all of them, on the basis of the explanations provided in the last few verses. Obligatory too are his abilities enumerated. Stimulated by the Soma extracts, he overcomes psychological repression of traumatic remembrances and consequent obliviousness of his abilities and becomes utterly intoxicated with a sense of purpose from a human perspective and goes about his work with his salient efficiency. Being reminded that he is the habitual destroyer of darkness, untruth, he promptly proceeds to help us to destroy such inabilities that continually torment us and keep us from knowing the truth. Or at least mortals would like to imagine so in their endeavor to feel included and be part of the universal expression. The verse provides a universal depiction of Indra as a representative of the supreme consciousness in the dominion of duality. It may be inferred that the depiction of the triumvirate, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, is perhaps a later construct, though etymologically similar individually to the notion and description of Indra, and the triumvirate also mentioned sporadically and individually. Probably during Rigvedic times, it was Indra who reigned supreme over the minds of humans. Mandalam 1, Suktam 16, Rik 9.
सेमन्नः काममाप्रेण गोभिरश्वैश्वरक्रतो स्तवामत्वा स्वाध्याः.
We do extol you, doer of actions multitude. Do then gratify this our desire with cows, with horses, good at reflection. Cowboys and bovine herds. A cow is symbolically a repository of truth or knowledge, and its milk is the knowledge that it bestows upon us. A horse symbolizes the force that brings this repository of knowledge to us. As cows and horses are earthbound symbols, this representation can only be globalized, not universalized. For we do not know yet what forms of life may exist on planets elsewhere in the universe that may be connoted in this manner. A good contemporary parallel is the scene depicted in American movies where cowboys astride horses herd cows to the grazing fields and back to the pen again every day. There would have been similar real scenarios in all parts of the world except that they were not made into movies. Since the occupation of divinities is to dispense truth in the form of their activities and act as role models for all that they create and regulate according to the law of truth, the verse can be seen as representing the personified divinities as cowboys and cowgirls, or gopas and gopikas, astride natural forces, herding repositories of knowledge to us for our benefit.